evening. Nope, not good. Good afternoon, Manhattan, New York City, America, the world, the universe, and beyond to all dimensions. My name's Kirk, and I'm trying something new for Facebook, and I'm calling it the Spiritual Laboratory. Every day I pray and meditate for about 2 hours, up to 2 hours, sometimes 4 hours a day. And I try to make notes on any kind of revelations and spiritual insights and try to find out what my higher self and higher soul is trying to get me to birth here in the material world. I'm an initiated shamanic healer, and I've never done, this is like my second live Facebook. So I'm trying to figure out if I want to do this every day and, meet people in a cyber temple. About 10 years ago when the internet first opened up, I started what I think and believe was the world's first cyber temple. It was on a website that was free at the time, but they started charging, and I shut it down. But it was called the Temple of Light. And basically you could come in 24 hours a day and meet other people in this chat room and this website that I created, and you could pray and meditate. So basically it was basically like a cyber temple. It was a temple, a virtual temple to pray and meditate with people. And my vision was that 24 hours a day you could enter this virtual church or temple and have communion and connection in a spiritual based way with other people. So now that Facebook is here, Facebook went everything's set up for you to go live, basically. I don't need a big website. I can connect to you right here and to anybody that wants to watch. And I'll also try to save this and figure out how to do that and put it on YouTube. So I have over 500 hours of free spiritual video content. And it's all over the internet, and some of it's very streamlined, like on my weekly cable TV show, and some of it is really kind of crude and raw, unedited, and very rough. And I did this on purpose because one of the things that people have trouble with in the material world is an organic process, and understanding that the organic process in the material world is very slow. Now, a lot of my clients are old souls, and they're very frustrated and they're hiding. And so one of the things I do is to help an old soul that is like, why am I so frustrated? I know I'm advanced. I know I'm an old soul, and I don't really know, what to do. And I just feel blocked in the material world. Let me see if I can figure this out. Sorry. Once again, this is a spiritual laboratory for me to figure out how all this works. So you're kind of seeing the beginning or the continuance of an organic process. I don't know how to load in the emojis. So what am I working on? What am I doing? I'm an initiated shaman. I've had 5 near-death experiences. I've been studying metaphysics for 40 years now. I started reading self-help books when I was like 12 years old, and so it continues. So basically, one of the things that I want to tell you about, or maybe just toss out there, is, what do you study? What do you do, Kirk? Because, you can be a teacher, And it doesn't necessarily always follow that you, the teacher knows as embodiment. So one of the things I'm trying for is the embodiment. And there's an organic process to embodiment as well. So here's a book, and you might want to check this out. I give this to clients, and I give this to some of my friends. It's called The Super Beings by John Randolph Price. You can have it if you have an Amazon account in your mailbox in 3 days, anywhere in the world. And it's only 120 pages long. And I highly recommend you check this one out. This is one of my Bibles, so to speak. So, all right, there's two kinds of clients that I have. One client is like, I'm an old soul and my whole life is spiritual, and I know I'm an old soul and I'm blocked and I'm frustrated. I see what's happening with the environment. I see what's happening with the animals, and I don't know what to do, and I don't really know how to be, and I don't really know what I'm doing here, and it's too intense. You know, you're natural born empaths, you're natural born mediums, and you don't know how to be what you are in the material world. So that's one type of client. And so that client, I will try to teach you how to get comfortable and grounded by being in a body. And it's brutal. It is totally brutal. The rent, the bills, the logistics, the technology, the dishes. You might have kids, clothes, cleaning, all those material things that are like totally hard for us. And so our spiritual connection is not in question. Our spiritual connection is true, and we have that metaphysical, interdimensional connection, but we're not sure how to bring it back and be in our bodies in the material world. The other type of client is the exact opposite. That type of client has kind of mastered the material world. They're good on the money. They're good on the income. They have a job. They have a career. They've met all their financial goals. And then they come to me and they're like, Kirk, I want to be spiritual. I don't have a clue about the spiritual connection or the spiritual world. And I feel like something's missing. You know, maybe they're a blocked artist. And, you know, instead of being like a stockbroker or a banker or whatever career they had, now they're ready to kind of pursue spiritual, metaphysical, and artistic things. So those are the two clients. So basically you have two types of people. One who their primary application is that they're good in the material world. They're good with linear 3 and 4D thinking. They're good with, hey, I know how to clean the house and get the clothes and clean the clothes. I know how to get the food and make the food. And, you know, I want to springboard off into a spiritual dimension. And then, like I said, you have these clients that are your old souls. You've been here. It all seems boring, and you can't seem to get into your body and start manipulating, creating, simplifying, clarifying how to get organized in the material world. And now here's another thing that on either side, you could, you know, be in addiction. And people that are dealing with addictions, it's like a stuckness and it's a repetitive pattern. And people that on both sides of those applications, you know, you've got low-grade alcoholism or addiction, and you've got to deal with like those types of issues as well. So by now you've guessed that I'm the old soul and I'm the spiritual person that is basically kind of clueless in the material world. You know, if you are a spiritual old soul, then basically you did not erase, or you have not forgotten your memory of existing and being in eternity. So here's where the frustration comes in and where the addiction really comes in, because addiction is really a repetitive pattern of frustration, in my opinion. You've got, you're bored, you're stuck, you don't have the eloquence to remember and access all your other lifetimes, and you have memory of eternity. And so you're trying, in eternity, you just have a thought form, it materializes. If it's not something you want, you just let it go, it dematerializes, and you create something else. And now you're in the material world where there's interdimensional density. So all of a sudden, hey, I want a parking space. Okay, boom. Like the fog lifts and you get the parking space. Why? Because you're relaxed, basically. So basically, the old soul issue is to catch your breath and relax and kind of remember, and then understand you have to recalibrate that there is a density. So yeah, sometimes things do materialize instantly. I have had times when, like, the weather will respond instantly and immediately. I have a very strong connection to the weather for whatever reason. So it's cloudy all of a sudden, and I don't really like experiencing the clouds. I access something. I'm not exactly sure if I can describe it. The clouds like float away. I've been able to create fog. I really love fog, so I've been able to create fog. I love fog. And in Manhattan, fog is kind of unusual, and it only happens like once or twice. And the barometric pressure things that have to line up for us to get fog is, it's not like San Francisco. It's really rare. So I really have to like toss a lot of energy, out there, but I can get fog. The humidity has to be high, it can't be too cold, and it can't be too warm. But, I've been able to somehow access through the densities and relax and really know this is what I want. I would like to see this, and then it spills out of you. So let me see. Here's a couple other things. Oh, back to the addiction real quick. The addiction process, I want you to forget everything you know about addiction for a minute and just think about, at some point you had deep boredom, stuckness, and frustration. And so then all of a sudden you start experiencing the material world, light, sound, color, desire, sexuality, sexual energy, creativity, and you open up. And then you start enhancing, I'm going to enhance with drugs, chemicals, and you find out, and this is what happened to me when I was 12, oh, wow, this is like going through my body, and, the experience is totally enhanced. And thank you for watching, you guys. Hi, Melissa. Hi, Franny. Thank you for watching. If you guys want to toss any subjects out there, this is I'm just trying to learn how to do all this live, read the comments, and kind of keep my thoughts focused so it doesn't get scattered. So that's why I called it the spiritual laboratory. What was I saying? Oh, the addiction. So pretty soon then you wake up and your body is toxic and you're toxic with the chemicals and you want more chemicals. So that set up like a 12-year addiction cycle to drugs, alcohol, and drama and excitement. And then finally I got clean and sober at 24. But the addiction mentality, once it's created, it's a corrupted reality. It becomes a vicious cycle. So part of my process was to learn how to get into recovery and really access my spirituality in a daily spiritual practice so I could ask for divine grace. At a certain point, that persona of addiction and alcoholism and activation of the addiction, once it gets started, it's created. So it's almost like a monster. Technically, I don't believe in demons. And people, when I do shamanic work, people come to me and they're like, get rid of the demon. Well, in a roundabout way, it kind of is a demon, but it's not a demon in the Christian sense. So don't demonize the demon, because it'll make it harder to get rid of. What's been created is a thing that's alive that you energized with your mind, body, spirit, or an energy. So the spiritual homework after that is to ask for divine grace. And then that thing, once grace is requested and given, then you're free. It kind of puts it on hold. It's like a file in your computer. It gets closed, and it's just not active. And certain things can activate the addiction and the addiction mentality again. So what you want to do is just, once again, you know, when I get a new client, I say daily spiritual practice. You're going to have to understand and know what your energy is. And if you don't, that's your baseline. If you don't understand what your energy is, half of your thoughts and feelings are not going to be your own, at least 50%, because we are connected and we are in a soup of desire, manipulation, fear, mass media manipulation, you know. So our creation of reality is an interplay with all these other people. So like, say I take on clients. When I take on a new client, I have to be very aware of that client's energy. And the only way for me to be aware of my client's energies is that I have been praying and meditating on a daily basis for over 10 years and know exactly what my energy is. So they say, know what your stuff is. You know, I don't merge with the client, but the client's energy can be around me. If I'm doing a shamanic healing, I go into their aura, or I affect their aura from my aura, but you're still receiving. It's like a bunch of radio frequencies. And, you know, people that aren't aware psychically and spiritually, they pick up on other people's thoughts and feelings. So you might think, oh, these feelings, especially if you're like, the older the soul, the more empathetic you are. So you need the daily spiritual practice to learn your own energy, so you're not absorbing somebody's energy that you don't want. You're not accepting somebody's energies and ideas into your mind that you don't want, that are not really you. And, you know, classic Shakespearean, know thyself. You have to know what your thoughts are. So once again, the daily spiritual practice will get you a new foundation. So you're not thinking you're crazy. You know, a lot of old souls and empaths are like, you know, everybody says I'm crazy and I'm mentally ill, and well, you're don't have proper spiritual hygiene, which is kind of like the first thing. Okay, spiritual and mental. Most people think that, you know, we live in a material world, but we don't. First and foremost, we live in a mental and a spiritual world. So the world is created through thought form and through a lot of your projection of energy as well. Most people like that, their primary idea about reality is we're stuck in these bodies and we're trying to find our soul, and where's God, and you know, I'm not connected, and you have to understand and know that you are creating, you are projecting something onto the fabric of reality as well. It might be a little easier for you to think about that you're in a giant computer simulation program. It might be easier, maybe it might be harder, but you know, the geniuses of our time right now all agree we are in a very, very advanced type of matrix grid that can be manipulated. So you have to just remember that when you get that daily spiritual practice, you know, you are projecting something to create the reality. It's not totally and completely, you know. So if you're not getting the results that you want, and I'm in the negativity, I'm in the bad attitude. Well, say I go into a restaurant, and I've just got this negative swarm of toxic chi around me, and I've got all this powerful energy, but I'm just not directing it right. Those people, I'm going to get bad food, or I'm going to get bad service, or the people are going to be offended. And it took me so long, 20 years clean and sober, to realize that my attitude does affect things forward, that I am projecting my reality into another person's reality, then it's collective reality. So, I don't know, that's all that. So you have to just really know and understand, what you're responsible for, what they're responsible for, and you can, slow it, stop it. You know what I mean? Like somebody, here comes the attacker, verbal attack, mental attack, emotional, psychic attack. You can learn psychic self-defense, and one of those psychic self-defenses is you pull your energy back, and I've done it. And all of a sudden, the person just changes right before your eyes. It's like, oh, this shit's real, man. It is totally real. It takes a long time to get there, though. You know what I mean? If you don't believe that you are affecting anything and you're the eternal victim, like, why are these people doing this? And why am I always getting this? You have to acknowledge that at least 50% of the time and 50% of your energy and mind and thoughts are creating the collective energy and even the global energy of your experience. So I've been talking about this thing called Second Life. It's a website, and it's a multi-user interface. And if you really want kind of like a microcosm of how our world is created, go and join Second Life. And you get like an avatar, and you can be and look any way you want to. You can go and buy these dollars, Linden dollars. You can create any kind of house. You can sell stuff. Basically anything that's in this quote-unquote reality, material world, is also in the Second Life. And I have an avatar in Second Life called Logan Magic. If you guys want to meet me there. I don't go on it that much, but I was on there for like a year, and being in there really helped me to understand in a very simple way that our outer experience is also interfacing and influenced by all these other people. A couple of weird things that happened in Second Life. I got beaten up by these people. I just, you teleport. So I decided to teleport into this burlesque show. Anything you can think of in this world, quote unquote, they have in that world. So I decided it was like a vaudeville theater, and these people were there with their avatars, and they came on me, and we started talking, and they didn't like me, and they decided they didn't like me, and I was just being friendly. I didn't have a baseline on any kind of protection in that world. And this one guy, avatar, says, hey, why don't you walk through that door? Go ahead and see what's in there. So I make my avatar walk through the door. The door closes, and I fall into like a canyon of rocks and then to the bottom of the ocean. That happened. So what's the point, Kirk? The point is, you can get beaten up. You can, not have any baseline on boundaries or protections. That's the other thing about an old soul, is it takes a very, very, very long time. And I work with my old soul clients, and I say, you worked hundreds of thousands of lifetimes to get rid of the density so you could become an empath and really be the master of energies in this world. But now you have to get a baseline in this lifetime on your protection. And that's why a lot of old soul clients are hiding, is because they can't seem to get that baseline back. We get attacked because we don't have let's say 25 minutes. We don't have a baseline of protection. I got beat up all the time, constantly, all the time. The kids knew I was different. They weren't sure how I was different, but I didn't have a baseline in any kind of self-defense. So psychic self-defense, yes, you have to have it. You know, here's the two extremes. The two polar opposites are no protection and no fear, which is basically like a Buddha. The Buddha and the enlightened person is the one without fear. As simple as I can make it, you know. And then you have the person who has nothing but fear, and that person is hiding. They're very self-protective. They stay in their home. Maybe the windows are closed, and they don't leave. So you have these two polar opposite extremes. And so one lets all the energy in, and it can't decipher the energy, and it can't read the energy. This is a good energy. This is a bad energy. This is a toxic energy. This is a loving energy. And then the other one doesn't let any energy in. No energy goes in, no energy goes out. That is the epitome of being stuck. The ideal situation is to shoot for the middle. You need a baseline on your protection, on interpreting which energies you want, where you want to be connected, and you know, what you will have in your home, in your space, in your mind, in your body, and what you won't have. So those are the two outcomes. Just to wrap up on the addiction, you know, you have to understand and know when you're in that addiction, unending desire, the sensual type of desire, and you can, you know, sugar, food, sex, men, women, people, places, and whatever your thing is that you're imbalanced on, you know, it's just setting up a vicious cycle. So what you want to do is, once again, get that daily spiritual practice and be constant and vigilant in your thoughts and your feelings and your actions. At some point, especially the people that walked in with like unbelievable amounts of light, or that's the more you're attacked. You're attacked more, the more light and intelligence, spiritual intelligence you walked in with, the more you really have compounded trauma, sexual trauma, physical trauma, and the more you were probably attacked and beaten up. So you have to know that. You also can't take it personally, and you also have to forgive it. If you don't forgive it and you take it personally, it will be harder to clear out, because you'll basically just go the rest of your life in a survival energy of, you know, all this stuff happened, and, you know, my pilot light is blinking off and on, and, you know, this just didn't work out the way I thought it would. And a lot of people, they really just leave their bodies and they die from grief and pain and the abuse. But then there's people like probably me, and I know other I have a lot of clients that, like, I hear their stories and I'm like, you know, you're a walking miracle. So I'll speak for myself. I was just too stupid to die, I guess. I was just too stubborn and obstinate, and I just kept getting back up. And I would get the shit knocked out of me, end up in the hospital, the emergency room, and I would just shake it off and keep, you know, get back up. All right, what's next? All right, that happened. All right. Until eventually, like, you know, I got knocked out a couple times. I was in bed twice for a year at a time. And like I said, 5 near-death experiences. I've probably used up, I probably have 9 lives. I probably used up maybe 2. I did use one for my dog. That's not really on topic. So for those of you still watching and still paying attention, anybody else? Here's what you know, I'm working on today. Okay, so basically we're talking about quantum jumping and how do you get to the timeline, because realities are shifting now so much. So people are calling it quantum jumping, quantum reality. How do you get to the quote unquote timeline in a multiverse, multidimensional, infinite amounts of reality timelines that can be created, a la, Einstein's theory. How do we like jump and get on the timeline? Hey, I want to be on the timeline where I win, where I pull it together, where I'm, the victor instead of the victim. So I'm just now kind of trying to learn those things, and I'm making notes and getting more and more notes, and it's becoming clear. So basically, you're leaving a third world all material consciousness density, and you're walking up into a 4 and a 5D. So once again, here are the two polarities. I deal well with opposing energies and energies that are together and trying to create harmony within, and being in a state of harmony inside of the two contentious energies, light and dark, night and day, good and bad, like these paradigm energies, love and hate. So what you really need to do, and what is happening, is you're stepping out of those, because that's either or thinking. And what you want to do is become a full creator. So you want to step up into a 4th dimension, 5th dimension, 6th and 7th, basically. And these are shifting realities where you have an interplay with, not only your body, your mind, your aura, your psychic, your spirit, and your libido all at once, aligned. You want to have connection and interplay above into other dimensions. That's where you get to become a full creator, So first of all, you got to know what you're dealing with. So on this side, and I'm going to discuss this on my TV show, I think, partly, maybe. You've got basically a 3D dimensional world. And the 3D dimensional world is corrupted. And it's that grid and that reality is not a sustainable thing for you or me or anybody. It's going to burn itself out because it really is corrupted, and it's not based on any kind of spiritual or mental truth. If you want to read something called the Kybalion, it's the basic Hermetic text. It's very easy to find. Kybalion. And the Kybalion will tell you, Kybalion will tell you that the universe and the hermits, the Hermetic philosophy, believes that the world is primarily mental. It's primarily mental, not spiritual. It's mental first. But I think it's both. In order to activate and create something, you need the spark that's going to come out of your desire, deep desire, which is your spirit, which is your heart, which is love. So, but in this world, on the 3D side here, and I'll take a picture of this for like Instagram and Facebook, it's basically corrupted, and it's going to burn itself out. Why? Because it's primarily a yang-based, fire-based, attack-based grid. So the reason I mentioned Second Life is, I got attacked in Second Life. These people pushed me around, and, I'm at the bottom of the lake, drowning. But basically, it's really going to burn up the resources so quickly. It's just not a long-term sustainable thing. And what it leads to, basically, is the corrupted 3D world in the old grid, okay, leads to, it leads to death. It leads to thoughts of death, constant death, disease, stress, panic, desperation, debt. You're constantly bound to time, whereas on the other side, you can enter eternity. And you're dealing with a constant scarcity and a false scarcity. And I think we'll go to 45 minutes. So on this side, you feel like I don't have any choice, or my choices are blocked. I'm hiding. I'm in all fear. I have no trust. I have no hope. I have no love. I'll never get out of it. I'm completely in debt. And it's a constant insufficiency of whatever you need. So, of course, it's basically, eventually, it's going to burn itself out. Mental illness is everywhere, which is stress, disconnection. You're begging for things. You're in a constant survival. You're in a constant ignorance of spiritual and mental ideas and principles. And then basically, you get the hive mind, you start to decay, and you're here for a little bit, and then you're gone. So what you want to do as you move up into a fourth and fifth dimensional type of reality, you're going to move over to the creative grid here now, and this is what you really want to create, is a creative world. And instead of being bound to time and death and dying and debt and disease, despair, and depression, you're just going to come fully into present time and experience. So you're not really carrying around your past. You're not really bound to the past. You're not regretting the past, but it's also not your reference point. And in this grid, you're in a state of abundance of everything you need. In this grid, whatever you need just simply comes to you. Without effort or struggle or fear or hope is not your question. Your question is, this is what I'd like. I know exactly what I'd like. I know the result I'd like to get. And now it's a matter of, still wading through the material world, but it starts to get faster. Your manifestations are getting faster and faster. You're streamlining how you create, attract, materialize, and manifest. And you start to get a timeless flow, You start to get in that flow that Eckhart Tolle talks about. And you start owning, you start being more secure, you get out of the survival and into a thriving type of mentality where I'm thriving. My needs are being met. If I can't get my needs met directly, I'll turn it over to divine intelligence or my higher divine self, and the stuff will just materialize as a general idea. All of my needs are taken care of, the bills are paid, the rent's paid, the money will come, the people will come. So what's happening is you're going between both of these. So half of your day is going to be this like hopeless desperation of need and want and desire that's unending, and it feels like you're never going to get there, and you're just stuck and there's darkness. And then all of a sudden it shifts, and now you're in this like 4, 5, 6D dimension, and you're figuring out how to shift and springboard away from the third dimension where you're a cardboard cutout, and you're made to be a machine. You're only here to work for money and consume and collect shit and then just get overwhelmed by it all and die. Or you're here to become a full creator, okay, in the fifth dimensional grid, in the new grid. And then all of a sudden, oh, yes, this is what I want. Yes, here's the light. Yes, here's the good feelings, the love, the creation. This is exactly what I was looking for. Yes, I want more of this. I want more joy. So you start to really repair, replenish, replace. You start to speak from a different voice, and then your projections upon the new grid are totally different. You know what I mean? And so now it's also kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You expect good, more good comes. You expect good, more good comes. You're projecting good, more good comes. You're tithing and sending out. It's an equal and mutual flow of energy. Instead of everything going out and you being depleted, now there's kind of like the infinity symbol, and you're a true creator. Where's the magician card? I literally have like 20 tarot decks here. You're a true creator. You're stepping up into full creator all the time. So first you want to be baby creator and get clear ideas on how to create, attract, materialize, and manifest. And through a clear vessel, and, be totally aligned. And that's when the manifestations and materializations come the fastest. So it just takes practice. It just takes practice. And also the daily spiritual practice with your spirit guides, helpers, angels, people like me, healers like me. I can move stuff around in other dimensions, but, let the buyer beware on spiritual people as well. You've got to, get referred, find a healer that you trust, something that you feel guided to. And here was, the full creator is, you see, it's infinity. It's a mutual exchange of energy with all the elements in balance. Okay, earth, water, air, wind, fire, and metal. I believe in the 5 elements. Don't get too happy. Don't get too sad. A little grief is good. A little trauma is good. You know, a little anger is good. And once again, you're trying to find balance. So full creator in the 5th, 6th, and 7th dimensions, stuff will start to materialize. And then all of a sudden, then it just goes back to like 4D and 3D. And you're like, what the hell just happened? Is it gone? Is the magic gone? You just have to pause, be patient. Once again, have an organic process as a creator and stepping into your full creative power. I do coaching. I'll coach you and I'll meet you for 4 weeks in a row, same time, same day of the week, to coach you on things like this, owning your spiritual gifts, getting unblocked from a creative standpoint, an energetic standpoint, a mental standpoint, a spiritual standpoint. Shucky. I totally forgot the sage. So if you've like listened this far, you're going to get a saging free in 2 minutes. So once again, I mean, the basics are you've got scarcity, despair, desperation, hopelessness in your 3D world. It's not a sustainable thing. It's going to blow itself up. It's going to burn itself out. There's too much light. There's too much explosion. There's not enough love. There's not enough resources. And, you know, only a couple of people are really getting their full spiritual, mental, metaphysical needs met. And then you've got all these other people that are like choking to death, starving to death. It's not a sustainable grid. So what you're going to have to do is start doing this work to get over to the abundance, the thriving, the reconnection instead of the disconnection, and, you know, spiritual hygiene and mental hygiene. So, you know, once you start walking into those realities, belief in miracles, your life is really a constant flow of miracles in the 5 and 6D. And so this is the quantum jump that, you know, a lot of you are making right now. And basically when you step out of time, you really get glimpses and become actually immortal in a body. So we're going to wrap it up in a minute. Here's a thing that I have that I make my clients do, that they come to me for coaching. You make a list and you write down all the times when you had manifestation from beginning, middle, and end, and you got exactly what you wanted. Or you didn't even ask, but you just kind of had a vague thought that I would like this, and all of a sudden. I have trips on there. I just thought, you know, I want to drive across country. 10 days later, a friend called. Hey, I'm driving across country. Everything's paid for. It's all free. And, you know, why don't you just drive across country with me? I got to deliver something. Happened. Ben Stiller. This is the truth. This is on my list. See, I put Ben Stiller right at the top, okay? Kirk's manifestation history. You put your manifestation history because you're going to forget. And so you put it right where you meditate, which is for me right here. You put the history of your manifestation and you look at it every day so you can, you know. The Ben Stiller thing was I watched The Life According to Walter Mitty. He starred in it and he produced it. And I just had a random 30-second thought, like Abraham Hicks says. Wow, I really would love it if I could thank Ben Stiller for that movie, because it didn't really do well at the box office. I know he thought it was going to be like a huge success. Everybody would get it. There was depth to it. There was humor. It was a beautiful movie. The photography was amazing. And, you know, I don't think it got the critical rave reviews that Ben Stiller wanted, and it was a big project for him. And so I just thought, you know, I would really like to see him and just say, hey, thank you. Some of us got the movie. We understood it. And it was like 3 days later, no more than 3 days. I was walking down my block in Midtown Manhattan. Times Square is like 3 blocks that way. Yeah, guess who was coming toward me? That could not be a coincidence. And I was like, oh my God, there's Ben Stiller. Now I can thank him. Here's the thing with your manifestations. You know, you might get all the way up. Here's Ben Stiller in front of you. 3 days later, it's unbelievable. This guy walks in front of me and starts like getting all in Ben Stiller's face, and he looks so agitated that I felt bad, and I didn't really just want to stand there and wait. And so I just kind of silently said thank you, and I walked on. So the whole manifestation didn't come out exactly like I imagined it, but for 30 seconds, and boom. I've accessed a thing where I can really conjure people very quickly. Like certain people I can just conjure if I focus on them. If I take an actual photo image, a paper image, and put them on my desk, they materialize very quickly. Manifestation history, that was one exercise you can do. You can look at it every day. A lot of people, I talk about the kitchen sink. Maybe I'll talk about that on my TV show, The Manifestation, or maybe I'll put a YouTube video. The kitchen sink actually came to me right to my doorstep for the exact amount of money that I asked for. And it was like a $350, $400 kitchen sink, like a deep industrial stainless steel one. I'm going to start wrapping it up. But that was about 2 months on that one. I didn't have any idea that the kitchen sink would literally come to my doorstep. I went to leave my building. It was actually blocking my way to get out of the building. I was like, there's my kitchen sink. It was literally standing right in front of me for $50. And that was the qualifier. You know, you have a general or a specific affirmation on the manifestation creation. And I said, I don't want to pay more than $50. And I thought it was like, you know, there's no way this can happen. But yeah, that's the qualifier. And sure enough, it was installed. I paid $50 and it came to me. And, you know, that's the mental commitment. You know, I don't know how this is going to happen. It's just going to happen. So, boom. 2 months later, there's my sink. So, and I guess next time we'll talk about the hierarchy that I've created for my clients as well. You start out here, and this is like basically zombie land. You're a zombie, you're a slave, you're hiding. Up to fully awake and full creator in the material world. So, my name's Kirk. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'm very accessible. You can email me at kirktv@gmail.com. We're going to do a little aura smudging for you now at the end, free of charge. I'd like to thank you for watching. I hope you've learned something. And, have a great weekend. Shakti, namaste. You are in the Cyber Temple with Kirk of love, and you're getting smudged and cleaned and cleared. Shakti, Shakti, namaste. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time in the Cyber Temple of Love, Light, and Sanity. I hope you've learned something. Send me an email. I answer every single one of them. And thank you. So let me see if I want to say thank you. Weird, it just takes a while for it to show